The Survivor Specialist, Phil and Will, are back, and today we are recapping episode 11 of Survivor 48. Sorry, I feel like I just watched the same thing over again. Sorry, I'm like so confused and everything. And
man, did you do that? Did you do that on purpose? Was that a?
That was pretty
bit?
good, huh? That was pretty good. I got to keep everybody on their toes, and I'm going to start this podcast by saying this because I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and you all know that I speak what I feel when I do this podcast. Everybody who I have met who played on Survivor 48 is a wonderful person. And I'm saying that to start because, my God, this season is brutal right now. I feel like it is a chore to sit down on Wednesday nights and watch this, dude. This was so brutal. They talked about how Joe's the biggest threat. This is the time to do it. Let's get Joe out of the game. And they turn around and they put a 6-1 vote on a person who is a 1-vote finalist based on the fact that my captain David stood for Mary here at the end. Will, I need you to just spin some light here so that we don't lose all the good grace that we have with the community, with the players, with our fans, with everybody. I got to keep this real. This is awful, but maybe you can convince me that I'm wrong.
You didn't enjoy tonight's episode? I thought it was awesome. This is great. Survivor at its best. I mean, what do you want me to say, Phil? I was on to this season sucking in the pre-merge. I was like, I don't feel the vibes. And this is before I knew what the post-merge looked like. And I even told you, I was like, dude, I'm just not getting into this season. We had some interesting votes because we had so many lost votes, and it was, we had some fun conversations, but there really wasn't anything that compelling game-wise. I know we had the big moment with Eva and Joe at the challenge in episode 4, and that is still the highlight of the season. But I mean,
the Thomas vote is the last great vote of the season.
It keeps getting worse. Like, it keeps getting worse and worse because we keep getting teased. And there's just no payoff. And it's almost like the show is going out of its way to tease us even more. Like, they're going out of their way to make it seem like it's going to happen even more than last week. And then it doesn't happen. So it feels even more dissatisfying. Because didn't you feel that? It felt to me, just from the tone of this episode, there was this ominous vibe, this foreboding music in like the way they were framing Joe and Eva, still so confident. And it was this slow unraveling of Kyle's emotions, and it really felt like he was going to flip. Mm-hmm. Even his explanation to Mary saying, hey, like, I'm not in a good spot to do that right now. He looks the audience dead in the eye in a confessional and says, I'm thinking about that nonstop. Every time I'm not having a conversation with somebody, I'm thinking about flipping on Joe. I just can't tell Mary yet because Mary's going to run back and maybe get my name out there and it might burn me. But like, he's thinking about this. So that for him to be set up that well, and then not follow through, it's Mitch last week. It's the same story. And so, Phil, I ask you, is this the worst season of the new era? I know you are,
no, it can't be.
You hate season 41 more than anything.
Yeah.
But like, I would argue that season 41 had much more to offer than this season.
Let me get on to a positive here real quick. And let me I want to pitch this to you and see what you think. What is keeping this season from being down there? And I talked with Austin on the podcast this past week. I had Austin on and we predicted, and he put Mary at the bottom and I put Joe because he's smart and I'm an idiot. And my thing is this, though. If we get to the final 5, let's say Mitch goes home next week at 6, and we get to the final 5 of Joe, Eva, Shaheen, Camilla, and Kyle. This is going to sound so stupid after the way I started this podcast, but there's an argument to be made that that's one of the best pound for pound final 5s the show has ever had. Now, what I'm saying with that is every one of them legitimately has a chance to win. Every one of them has played a game that they are proud of and that they want to be playing. And I think that every one of them is bringing it in some sort of way. I think what's annoying me about this season is I said to Rachel while we were watching, I said, what's frustrating me is I'm rooting so hard against Joe right now just for entertainment. I like Joe. I like Joe as a person a lot. There's nothing wrong with Joe, right? There's nothing about Joe that has to go. Somebody has to go. And I'm just tired of watching over and over the same thing. And it feels like it's missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity. I feel like I'm a parent who keeps seeing my kid turn down opportunities to get into the best college. And then they turn down opportunities to get into any college. And now they're sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, watching TV, and they're 21 years old. And I'm like, what are you doing today? Oh, I'm going to go to the bar later. Like every opportunity is being missed, and it's setting up what feels like is just going to be a failure for everybody at this point. I still am so delusional that I don't think that Joe is going to win this game. But that's the only positive I can pull from this season, is that the final five actually does have the potential to be an unbelievably strong final five, where we go into a finale going, I have no idea who's going to win. But at this point, I might think that Mitch goes and the editors accidentally leave in Jeff saying Joe wins, winner of Survivor 48, Joe, just so there's no drama even going into the finale, because there hasn't been drama for 5 weeks now. David was the last drama. I will say the David boot, that whole thing, I know that we said it got predictable, but still voting out David felt like a change of power that ultimately just never happened. It gave false hope. Fool's gold. Sorry, Will. What do you got? I don't even remember what your question was.
No, don't be sorry. This is your podcast, man. I mean, vent, let it out. I will say this. There are 2 more episodes left in this season.
There are 2 more episodes left in this season, yeah.
The next 2 episodes could be 10 out of 10 slam dunks, top tier, prime Survivor. And I would still probably have this season as the worst of the new era. I don't think this season's recoverable. I don't think you can go, what is this, the 11th episode? The 12th episode?
This was 11. It says it up there at the top, episode 11. I got the number right.
I don't see that at the top of any. Oh,
really?
Okay.
Yeah, it's up there.
Episode 11. So we got 2 episodes. You can't go 11 episodes in and be this bad and uninteresting. You can't recover from this. I don't care how good. Like, think about the best moments, and let's just talk about the new era for a second. For me, the highest highs of the new era have been pretty much 2 incredible Survivor episodes: Telenovela from season 43 and Operation Italy from season 47. Mm-hmm. Those episodes are fantastic, but both of those seasons also had dynamic gameplay, interesting casts, and a lot going on outside of those episodes. It's not, Survivor doesn't work where it's like, what's your best episode or who's your best winner or your best finale. That's not what makes a good Survivor season. A good Survivor season needs to keep you interested throughout. So for me, I'm sad to say, like, Phil, you might be right that this could be the best final 5, or maybe it's the best final 6, final 5 to winner that we get in the history of the show. I think the highest this season could be is like bottom 10. Like, even if that happens, because I have been so disinterested and there's nothing that I'm like, I just, it's almost like I don't care. Like, and you could throw a dart other than like Mitch. If Mitch somehow wins, that'd be interesting, but throw a dart at the other 5. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see how they win, but like, do I even care that much? I don't even think I care that much.
So here's what my questions would be for you. Let's say Shaheen's right and he is playing a better game than Joe, right? He thinks he's playing a better game than Joe. Okay, but let me just say this. Let me just say this, though. Let's say he's right and Shaheen goes to final 3 against Joe and Eva and he wins somehow, which I don't think is possible. Let's say he does. Do you consider Shaheen one of the greatest to ever do it? I mean, he just beat Joe, who seems dominant. He went to the end. He's stuck with an alliance that, as viewers, we're screaming at him, dude, what are you doing? You can't beat these people. But he beats them. So do you have to give credit where credit is due there? And that's kind of where I'm falling into all of this. Like somebody in this season is going to be right. That's the craziest part. Somebody is going to win this season, and every decision that they've made is correct. Now, if Joe is the one who wins this season and his decisions have been correct, then yes, the other 5 people who have played or who are left in the game, we're going to be sitting here going, what was wrong with you? What was this decision? I want to know, right? When I'm sitting there and there's exit press going on after the finale, I can't wait to hear what was your actual plan. What did you think was going to happen? Why did you feel this way and not that way? Whatever. But if one of them is right and Joe doesn't win, how can we be sitting here calling them stupid? Because really, one of them is correct. I don't know. It's illogical at this point.
I'm not even at that, because I don't care if you're playing well or you're playing stupidly. I just want you to play in an entertaining manner. I'm not saying that they're all dumb. What we do know is that there's only one winner. So you could argue that no matter what here, Phil, you're arguing no matter what, one person's going to be right. I could sit here and argue back to you, well, no matter what, 5 of them are going to be wrong. So why don't you do something about it? The Shaheen thing was so disappointing to me. And not because I disagree with Shaheen. Shaheen could very well be correct here. He could say, I will make a better argument to the jury. I think I can beat Joe. I think I can beat Eva. I think I can beat Kyle. I want to sit at the end with them. I think I can win this game. That might be completely true. But that doesn't make it fun to watch. That doesn't make the episode entertaining. And the fact that he feels this way means he's not going to be compelled to turn on this alliance. Whereas, like, the whole season, we've been getting little hints of, like, Shaheen is dangerous. He's shady. He was talking to Mary last week. Like, we've gotten tones of Shaheen being the one to flip or to be a villain or make a move and lie in some way. So when we hear this tonight that he is down to ride this out the Final Four, it's not that I think he's stupid. It's not that I think he can't win. It's that I'm disappointed that it means he's not going to flip. And that means we will not have an entertaining vote. Mm-hmm. That's the disappointment. So,
yeah, JD here from 41. That Shaheen confessional was so 0 vote finalist. And that's what it felt like to me, too. And does anybody have, does Gordon Holmes still put out the list of word association, or does he only do it in the audio of the podcast? Because I know that there were everybody was saying that during David's word association, he gave some controversial statements there.
Can we not talk about why are people first of all doing word association with people who are just voted out when they know the outcome and they're jury member of this season, especially after last season it led to spoilers. So but like, I don't want to be a podcast that like even brings that up or even lets people know about it or link to it or mention it. That stuff shouldn't exist. And it's annoying. And I just want to end it there, Phil. I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about that stuff.
All right. I mean, that's fine. I don't really know what else to talk about, though.
I know, but like, I don't want to potentially bring up spoilers. Like, that's the
honestly at this point, I wish there were spoilers for this season. I never want to be spoiled. I wish that this season was spoiled because I can't take this anymore. I can't take this. I can't, man. I've suffered through Blood versus Water, Australian Survivor over the last couple weeks. It's the worst season of Survivor of all time. I went through and did all these episodes of the actual live season of Australian Survivor. You and I did the Traders. We did Deal or No Deal Island, which was fun, all of that. We just rewatched Tocantins. We just did Gabon. I just rewatched all of Samoa for the podcast. Honestly, man, I can't do this bad of a season of Survivor right now. Like, I have been putting my heart and soul into this shit. And I can't do it anymore. Like, what's funny to me is, so tonight, I don't know who follows us over on Instagram, but if you saw it, Tegwith is joining the Survivor Specialist next season. She is joining our podcast. She is joining our channel. It's going to be a massive, massive addition for us, right? Tegwith is going to start her own show in the fall for season 49. We are going to do a podcast with her on Sunday. It's going to be Survivor 50 related. I'm also going to have Sam Phelan on Sunday. Like, this is supposed to be a celebration. This is my favorite thing in the world, dude. Like, Will was trolling me about the Celtics before this. I didn't even realize the Celtics were up that big and lost because I'm watching Survivor. I don't give a shit about the Celtics. And so I'm sitting here and I'm watching this and I'm watching this and I'm praying it's going to be good.
It's a good thing you didn't watch the Celtics.
No, dude,
they blew another 20-point lead at home.
That's their thing. And I wish this season would have blown a 20-point lead. But this season's so bad, and it's just so hard to watch because I want it to be good. Somebody in the chat earlier, I think it was Patrick Stahl, said Phil and Will loved Worlds Apart when they podcast the first time. But it's like, Worlds Apart, that was the first season you and I were podcasting together.
Go watch I dare anyone. Go watch Worlds Apart right now. And if you tell me that season 48 is better than Worlds Apart,
You're out of your mind.
You're insane. Like,
I don't care how mean the people are. It's not about just the cast, right?
I don't think Worlds Apart's that good, but holy, I mean, that's my thing. Like this season does not sniff Worlds Apart.
I really, really, really don't want to be that negative person, because during 41, we were those people. Alexa and I sat here and we just roasted that season. And what was funny was half the cast felt the same way because of the stupid hourglass twist. So like Danny McCray couldn't wait to jump on the podcast and be like, that's the stupidest thing that's ever happened. And right now, like, I don't want to be that guy because I know that's what everybody is doing, right? Like, I know that everybody's roasting this. I want to find the sunny side of these seasons. But after watching Star and Mary going back-to-back weeks, it's midnight, man. It's midnight. We live in Alaska, northern part, and it's the dead of December. There is no way to see sunlight anymore. It's over. And I don't want to be that. I put everything into this. I want this podcast to be fun. I want this to be great. But I'm a broken man, man. I am a broken man. And Will, you're here and you're broken too. And that's not helping. We're both just so done at this point. So I don't know. I don't know what to talk about with this episode, because I just watched a bunch of people say Joe's the biggest threat. Joe didn't win immunity. Let's vote out the lowest level threat in the game. That's just crazy to me. That's just crazy. Somebody just said Survivor 48 similar to Island of the Idols. Let's not get carried away. There is nothing as egregiously negative happening on this season. So one thing it has going for it is that really it's a bunch of positive people, but I'm snoozing. Will, what do you got? Anything? You got anything? I don't know.
What do we have? Like, I think it's okay, Phil. I think that's the thing to take away from this, and that you're sitting here like, I don't want to be the negative one. I don't want to. It's like, it's fine. Be negative. I think most people are negative. It's not a good season. And I bet your bottom dollar, most people are here right now wanting to listen to your response and my response about how bad the season is. And they want to feel somewhat vindicated that if they're not enjoying this, that they can throw on a podcast and listen to two people absolutely rip into it. I think that's fine. And some seasons are going to be good. Some seasons are going to be bad. And I think you just have to own it along the way. And if you're one of the few people that's enjoying this season and you don't want to hear us rip into it, don't listen to us. But I honestly think it could be a fun podcast if we spend the next 20 or 30 minutes just ripping into the episode and ripping into the season. And we shouldn't shy away from that if that's how we feel.
St. Cliffo says, I appreciate you guys and worth playing for. Wants to know if we can give a shout out to Sabrina and Jimmy. So far, those are the highlights of the podcast. Look, here's the thing. I am with you. I don't care who wins. I don't care. And I've never felt that way going into the final six. What's very interesting is I think this is the most wide open season of the new era. I think Rachel was pretty telegraphed last season. Kenzie versus Charlie was close, but you knew it was going to be one of those two. Back. D was pretty obvious, even though Austin was closer. Her edit was way better. You go back to 44. Jam was a lock. You go back to 43. Shocking. But I felt that if Jesse went home, it was going to be Gabler. I didn't feel like Cassidy or Owen had the edit there. So I wasn't as floored by that. 42, Marianne or Mike, but those were the only two who had a chance. And 41, you go back, that was kind of a question mark. But again, it was like, who cares? That's how I feel right now. It's so wide open, and I really don't care who wins.
Yeah. No, I think that's well put. Because so often we complain about it being too telegraphed. And here I really I don't feel confident about who's winning. And that usually is a positive thing for Survivor, or at least that's associated with positive seasons. Like if I were going to give you a list of factors or elements of a season, say, okay, you don't know who's going to win at final six, and you think 5 out of 6 have a pretty good shot. You go, well, that's probably a pretty good season. And it's not a good season. Mm-hmm. So why is that? Is it just because nothing interesting has happened? Like nothing.
I think that's right. I think I agree with you on that. Like Say went home. Say was the biggest character of the season. We knew Say wasn't going to win just based on like Say's personality, the way people were talking about Say, she wasn't going to win. But if you watch the rest of that, Cedric going home was not in any way shocking. Chrissy going home was not shocking. David going home was pretty surprising because he looked like he was in the power spot, but they edited it so it wasn't very surprising.
Yeah, I know that was a fun episode, but like going into that vote, it was like completely obvious.
It was pretty
Daniel
obvious.
going. It was absolutely obvious because we never saw the two sides agreeing on Camilla, which was the agreed upon name.
So-
we knew Kyle wasn't going to do that. So
I guess that's the thing, right? And then when Bianca went, Bianca was so terribly edited that I didn't feel anything when Bianca went home. Charity goes at 13. That was not shocking at all because she had no edit. There was nothing going on. So if you really think about it, Bianca, Charity, say Cedric double boots. That's 3 episodes. Chrissy, 4 episodes. David comes in here at 5. And then Star and Mary. So 7 of the last 8 episodes. And I know that vote outs aren't everything. We talk about that all the time, how the vote out isn't the most important thing, right? Like it's not the thing that we care the most about. There are great Survivor seasons. There's great Survivor episodes where the vote out is very predictable, right? Like the martyr approach I talk about all the time. That's my favorite episode of Survivor. You know, Coach is going home almost the entire episode. But for some reason, nothing is adding up on this season right now. It's not adding up. So those 7 of those 8 episodes have felt boring. And if you think about the Bianca episode, that was actually a shocking vote at Tribal Council. But it was between people that we didn't really know anything about. I didn't know anything about Chrissy. I didn't feel like I knew Mitch that well yet. I didn't know Bianca at all. Say was there. I felt like I knew her. And then Cedric we had seen no reason for why Cedric was going to do what he did. So is it the editor's fault? Like, what is it? I don't know what the answer to that question is.
yeah, there was in the chat, it said there's a question that popped up, and it's like, was this casting's fault? And I don't even think it is, because I think the cast is still pretty good. I think we have a group of interesting people that all want to win Survivor. And Phil, I think we've talked about this on some form of a Patreon podcast where like what makes a season good or what contributes to a successful season of Survivor. And sometimes at the end of the day, it comes down to like luck. And not that that's the only factor. Obviously, there's the cast has to be good. The twist can't ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond those, there's just not that many factors that you can control. And when production does attempt to control a lot of these factors, as we saw earlier in the new era, like with the hourglass, a produced, manufactured big moment, do or die, produced, manufactured big moment, splitting into 2 groups, produced, manufactured big moment. The show is not Survivor. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel authentic. And the fans argue continually, let the players play. We don't need twists every episode. We don't need journeys. We don't need lost votes. And Phil, I mentioned this last week, but I will say it again. And this week's a perfect example. We have a journey where we had a net gain of 0 and a net loss of 0. Nothing happened from this journey. We had someone go, they lost their vote when they arrived, they earned their vote back. Nothing earned, nothing lost. But then nothing happened. So it's and last week we didn't have any journey, we didn't have any advantages, we didn't have any twists, and nothing happened. And now I'm not sitting here arguing that we need these produced, manufactured big moments, or we need more twists, or we need more advantages, or we need lost votes. What I am saying is that if you argue, let the players play, trust the players, they should play to win, cast Survivor, like whatever your thoughts are on casting in the format of this show, just know that it's always a possibility that it's going to fall flat. And there's not really anything you can do otherwise to guarantee it. If you are doing something as a production, as Jeff, as casting, if you are going out of your way to make sure you don't get a season like Survivor 48, then you will never get a season like Survivor 37 or Survivor 33 or Survivor 6 or Survivor 7. Like if you go too far in one direction, you will not make Survivor. And if you do appreciate Survivor for what it is, and that it is an incredible format and it exists all over the world, that this can happen sometimes, that this is part of Survivor. That's what can happen. So I think it's bad luck. It's a combination of people split into groups, winning challenges, and the way the numbers worked out, the way the relationships worked out, we get a boring season. And you can blame Jeff, you can blame the cast, but sometimes you can just blame, that's how the cookie crumbles.
And can I want to bring this up then. So let's talk about some of the worst seasons of Survivor, just to kind of talk through like what they did bring though from a cast perspective. You talk about Redemption Island, right? Andrea plays a bunch of times. Francesca comes back and plays again. Philip comes back and plays again. So, and like Philip's great TV. Andrea is probably one of everybody's favorite characters from season 26 through 35. Like Andrea was seen as like this bright light, or 22, sorry. But like Andrea was seen as this like bright light when she showed up after Nicaragua, because the women in Nicaragua are awful. Like they're so boring. So Andrea was like this, oh my God, young woman, whatever. And Survivor kind of tried to base the franchise on her for a little bit with season 26. And then again, when she comes back for Game Changers. And then, you know, you look at a season like One World, another season that I think you and I would probably rank as bottom 3 of the entire show, at least. Troy Zan comes back. He's great. Like he makes it all the way to final 3. You have Kim, who comes back and honestly is like one of the better people on Winners at War, because Winners at War wasn't awesome. Monica comes back and people are like, what the hell is that? Monica's Blood vs. Water game is good. Colton comes back. That was stupid. But like, there's things to be gotten from these shows. And sometimes it just comes down to, you know, who is like, are you on the right season? Are you not on the right season? Like, I don't know. And so for me, like when I look at this cast, would Shaheen be playing a more aggressive game on a different season? I don't think he would be. I really don't. But Kyle and Camilla might be. I think Kyle is scared of Joe, and I think Joe is influencing seriously how people are being willing to make moves. I don't know why they're so scared of Joe, but they're terrified to vote Joe out.
But like, if Shaheen weren't in the majority in a power position, like, don't you think he would scrape and claw and make any move possible? And not that Mary wasn't trying to, or that other people haven't tried to, but like, I think it's that combination, like the wrong people got together and got the power. And like the people on the bottom have not been able to get together due to their individual relationships, the relationships with each other and relationships with people in the majority. So I'm seeing now in the chat, like editing popping up. I don't think it's the editing. The editing doesn't have a string of votes where just nothing happens. And we've seen that too. We've seen the other side of the coin. It's the same thing with twists and advantages. When we get editing that's meant to shock us or blindside us, and then you're left being like, wait, why did that happen? That feels unsatisfying. That feels unfulfilling, because why did that person turn on them? Like Game Changers, I think, is a great example of some of the boots. You watch those episodes and you're like, whoa, how did that person go home? I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, you're blindsided, but you're also left like, that made no sense narratively. I don't know why that happened. And that's not satisfying. And people hated that. Yeah. And so if you lean too far that way, you're kind of abandoning your storytelling in a way. So when the gameplay on a post-merge season of Survivor, when the gameplay is this stale, and when the power doesn't shift, there's not a whole lot the editing can do. Now, has the editing gone out of its way to tease us these past 2 episodes? Absolutely. And does that make it sting a little bit harder? Absolutely. But would you rather feel that sting and that visceral, like, damn, this season sucks? That's almost more fun than indifference. Like that's that quote, Phil. I'm sure you've heard this. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference, because at least if you hate something, you feel something and at least you care. But if you're indifferent, that's the worst feeling you can feel. And maybe we're having fun on this podcast, and we can continue having fun because we can hate this season and we can compare it to the worst seasons of all time. That could be a fun exercise. But we are truly, Phil, we both stated we don't care who wins, and that is indifferent. So we are both indifferent to who wins this season of Survivor, and that is never a place where you want to be.
Yeah. I want to throw up some comments here because we had chats. There's no comment here from David Dubel, but he sent us a super chat, so I'll throw it up. We have Shane Cupp listening to this podcast, the best part of this bad season. It helps us all to vent. Hang in there, fellas. I mean, we're back for 49. We're ready to go. I mean, our off season is going to be great. I'm stoked for the Sunday podcast, about 50. Cool Shot 77. If Joe wins, the Tom Westman 2.0. I mean, if Joe wins right now, there has to be an argument that this is the most dominant game ever played. like there really has to be that argument. He's dominated.
But he hasn't made any moves. None of them. That's the thing either.
That's how much he's dominated.
But I guess that's where I'm bumping though, because it's like, if Joe wins, I wouldn't call it that dominant. Just like if Shaheen wins, I wouldn't call it that dominant. If any of these players win, I wouldn't call it dominant, because there's nothing to dominate. You merged, you got the numbers, you had some sheep follow you around and vote with you, unwilling to turn on you for whatever reason, and to your social
Do you feel that
prowess,
way about
maybe.
Kim?
What's that?
Do you feel that way about Kim?
At least Kim was a sole leader. It doesn't feel like there's a head of the snake here to me. And I think if there were a more, I know everyone keeps saying Joe and Eva, but they're just a pair. Like, what has Joe done that Shaheen hasn't done this season? Like, strategically, anything? Can they differentiate their games at all other than challenge performance? Like, I don't know if I would sit here and say any of these players have played a dominant game, because there's not a one sole person leading this group at the top.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like right now, if I'm looking at this, Joe came into this game, huge guy, made an alliance, right? Like, he's made he made the alliance that he needed to make. They've never flipped on him. He's always been seen as the one of, he's the biggest threat. He's the biggest jury threat. He's this, he's that, whatever. So if nobody's flipping on him because his relationships are that good, and then he goes on to win at the end, like, I don't know, man. Like, this is just, it's dominant. I get what your argument is of, like, he's not dominating anything, but it's the fact of the matter that, to me, I do feel like he's the head of this, because the question around it is, should we flip on Joe? And the fact that that answer has been no over and over and over and over again, to me, makes it feel like, well, he's the top dog here. He's the leader. And that's what they always do with Tom in Palau.
Sure. I don't know if it's so much he's the leader, and it's as much as he's the biggest threat in challenges. We've seen him perform well. He's won 3 immunities. We know he is a physical threat. Sure. I know he's partnered with Eva too. He's a very clear pair. But honestly, I think one could argue maybe that, like, you don't want to be considered the biggest threat out of your group. Like, maybe that's not the best gameplay, and maybe that's why he won't win. But if he wins, I'm not saying it'll be a bad win. I think if Joe wins, good for him. Like, got it done. Good for Joe. Like, played in a really good game. I just don't know if I would use the word dominant, because to be dominant, I think you have to overtake something, or like make decisions to advance in a way where you're upping or increasing your chances to win. Whereas, like, what Kim did in One World, she got the girls together and she dismantled the men. She dismantled an entire alliance at the merge. I don't think Joe has done that. I think this group got together, and the stragglers below them, like, and plus we're playing in an era where we're splitting into groups. And I think the split went very fortunate. They were able to get Cedric out and Star out. They had some people get, what you're going to interrupt me with?
No, you go ahead. You keep talking. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I'll put the comment down. Go ahead. You keep going.
That I just brought up the split votes. I think we were not getting this group against another group. It was the people that came together and had some fortunate relationships. And I don't know if dominant is the right word. I don't think they've overcome enough to be dominant.
So Survivor Archive, this is what Will yelled at me for. Joe did make a move. He flipped on David and reconsolidated the 4 afterwards. I mean, I think that's a very fair argument. David was coming,
but
after
they all
Joe.
Flipped on David.
But Joe was the one who ultimately made that happen. If Joe and Eva don't do that, that's
not what the show told us. The show told us that Shaheen was dropping hints of David's name all throughout the merge. Basically, since they'd merged, they said, let's get together. Then he dropped, I'm a little freaked out about David. We got a whole montage of that. That's what I mean about, I don't think this is Joe's alliance that he's leading. I really don't. I don't see it that way. And I could be wrong. Like, if you don't want to disagree, fine. I don't. First of all, there haven't been enough strategic moves made by this group to even give credit for the moves. So we can sit here and argue who's the leader, who's the powerful one. And I get that Joe is being brought up as the target or the biggest threat. Again, I think that has a lot to do with challenges. But, like, this group is doing the status quo. So it's not like you're running the game. Like Tony, he ran it. Like Russell and Samoa, we're about to get there on Patreon. Like, yeah. That's a dominant game. I mean, he takes 4, it's 4 against 8, and he spearheads and leads the votes to do blindside after blindside after blindside. And maybe that's not a good example because he doesn't end up winning, but, like, you're at least being active. I don't know if I can give dominant to a passive player who says, let's vote out all the people who aren't in our alliance. Like,
Yeah,
that's
I
basic.
guess the one way I want to like go against you on this with the whole dominant thing is like the 17-0 Patriots were dominant. You know what I mean? Like they dominated their competition here in our 16-0, whatever they were, but they dominated every week. Like they killed everybody. Yeah, they lose the Super Bowl, but like that is the most dominant regular season ever. They didn't have to overcome anything. They just did it. And I feel like if Joe were to win this game, there's literally there was like Joe won this game unopposed, essentially. And I think that, in my opinion, is what domination is, right? Like that's how I see it, is like he was the best. But again, I ultimately agree with you. I don't actually think that Joe's going to win
No, I don't think Joe's winning either. And here we have Captain Obvious. Joe is just sitting back, not a winning strategy. Wait, is he saying, is that not a winning strategy? Like, if he ends up winning, is that not a winning strategy? Which is, I don't think is what he's saying now. Mm-hmm. But if he was saying that, I would say sitting back in winning, certainly a winning strategy, and it can be, but I wouldn't call it a dominant strategy. But Captain Obvious here is saying Joe is just sitting back. It's not a winning strategy. And I don't think Joe wins. I think there's enough, like we've been teased enough that at this point, if it doesn't happen, like it has to happen, right? Like we've had two full episodes.
Camilla win. Like I really do think it's Kyle or Camilla.
I think it's Kyle, Camilla, or Shaheen.
It's not Shaheen. I think Shaheen's toast. There's no way Shaheen wins after tonight's episode.
I feel like so bad about that line. I know JD hated it, and then like I didn't get great vibes from it, but my vibes were more like, damn, that means you're not going to flip on Joe. Not that I think he's playing a bad game.
What it is to me is that everybody else seems to think Joe is playing the best game and who he is who they should be most worried about at the end. But Shaheen thinks he's playing a better game than Joe, and that worries me. Like that's why I think that's bad. I feel like to me that's like a little delusional.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean it's possible.
Yeah. Let's throw up some stuff here. Wesley White, every time they make a decision, they go to Joe. This was in the argument of, Joe being the leader here. Shane Cup wants to know, is a Joe win comparable to JT's? It seems like people just want him to win. You getting that vibe at all? If he does go on to win, are you getting that vibe?
I don't really get that vibe because the people remaining, like, just because Kyle hasn't flipped on Joe yet, doesn't mean that he's out there being like, I'm playing for Kyle to win. I want him to win. Kyle still wants to win. And even Shaheen, like with his line tonight, is not saying I'm playing for Joe or I want Joe to win. He's saying, I actually think I can beat Joe. So like, is Eva playing for Joe to win? No. Is Camilla playing for Joe to win? No. It's not the Taj love. It's not the Brendan love. It's not like, it's not that high.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even Debbie in Token Change was, I just love JT. If he won, that'd be great. Like it was.
I agree with that. I think like when you really rewatch Token Change, you see how much they all love JT. Joe's not at that level. Like they all respect Joe, but they don't like Brendan literally has a confessional in that season where he says, my reason for being here is to find a way to get JT to the end of the game. And you're like, what? Your reason for being here is to win the game. Like, I don't care that you just sold Bare Naked. Like, get out of here. So yeah, I mean, ultimately what I'm watching, and I this is the one thing I stand true to, and this is why I have felt that Joe should have went this week, or Joe or Eva should have went last week. This is the one thing I stand true to is I still feel like this is Kyle and Camilla's game. And I think the confessional tonight, or the conversation between the two of them, to actually break down something from the episode, I feel like the conversation between Kyle and Camilla, where it was, I want to at least get one of us to the final tribal council. I think that's a massive foreshadow that one of them is going to get to the final tribal council. I don't know if both will at this point, but one is going to.
Fire making against each other, perhaps.
I can see that.
That's what I was getting.
Yeah. Now, but my question is, who do they get rid of in order to get to that position? Because Eva still has safety without power and her.
I cared.
I know, man. I know. We gotta crack your back, stretch out the shoulders.
I just don't. It's like, how is Camilla gonna get her way to the final 3 and lose to Joe, or maybe she beats Joe?
Here, let me throw this up since you're like trying to fit. Ash's me said Camilla's also said we could get both of us to the final 3 or something like that. She said that if they vote out Joe tonight. That was literally the caveat to that statement was, if we vote Joe out tonight, we could both get the final 3, and then they were like, nah, we're good. Oh, Will.
Oh man.
Is this the worst season you've had to podcast? It is, right? Because you did, what did you do? 30, 31, 32, 33.
Mm-hmm.
And then you came back for 46, 47. Like, you're the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I'm glad you're suffering right now. You deserve to be suffering right now. me and Alexa had to do 41, Island of the Idols, Edge of Extinction, when we were trying to figure out who the winner was when it didn't matter the entire time.
Ghost Island even is like,
yeah, Ghost Island's rough.
It's pretty brutal. I mean, this is giving me actually Ghost Island like post-merge vibes.
That's a great example.
But at least Ghost Island had a great pre-merge and it had an epic finale.
Yeah. And I also think that Dom and Wendell are better characters than our leaders right now. Like, especially Dom. Dom was so good on that season.
And at least you had is it going to be Dom? Is it going to be Wendell of it all? Here, it's like, it could be any one of them, but we don't care.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny if we just really, really rip into the season.
I mean,
this is for me the worst New Era season. Like, I know you hate 41, but 41 at least had some like.
41's not Survivor. That's the reason. 41 it's a different show. It's not Survivor. That's the worst.
No, those those idols, the phrase idols were so good. Like, that was such a win for Survivor. I thought Knowledge of Power that season was great. Seeing it play out the way it did. We had some hokey, kooky things that I didn't like or disagree with, but week to week, is it more entertaining than this season? Absolutely, it is.
Did you watch? See, no, unforgivable. Did you watch the preview for next week?
Yes.
I did not. That's how bad I thought this episode was. I didn't even bother to watch.
They tease a potential shakeup that might happen. They might go for Joe, I hear.
Hey, Mitch. I look forward to your exit press next Thursday. It's like if that's what they're teasing, I look forward to Mitch's exit press next Thursday.
Yeah, no, it looks like Cheyenne and Joe are going to have a little bit of riff, and
there's no way to save him at this point, right?
One of them might not survive.
I think I want to go back to your Ghost Island comparison, because we had to podcast that season. So Will was lucky enough to work on location for that season. So you got to like experience it, where we had to just watch the edited version of that season, which was not good. And I think this is a good example, because Ghost Island had a lot of momentum in the pre-merge, right? And this season had a lot of momentum in the pre-merge.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did. No, it did. There was momentum. The Cedric voting out Justin thing, I think, was momentum. The Thomas vote is amazing. That Thomas vote episode is so good. There is momentum there.
I think those votes are interesting on their own, but I never felt like the season as a whole was gaining momentum.
I think that it had a lot of momentum in the pre-merge, just like Ghost Island. But then as the pre-merge started to go, you started to say, uh-oh, this doesn't feel right. And as soon as the merge hit, nothing happens. There's probably one good vote in Ghost Island, which I can't remember at this point. And then nothing happens until the final tribal council. Where does the final tribal tie raise Ghost Island for people? Because that might be the only thing that could raise this season up at this point.
It doesn't. I don't see. That's the thing. I still think people view Ghost Island negativing. I think people are like, that was cool. We got a tie, but that's a pretty boring season. That's a pretty forgettable season. And in here, I've already said, like, even if we get the best final 2 episodes, I think you still look at this season and go, meh. Even if it's fantastic the rest of the way.
Skylander Gamer TV feel like this could be a bit of recency bias, but I don't think 48 is near as bad as Ghost Island or 41. 41 is way worse, in my opinion. Like, you can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah, that's fine. Have you rewatched 41?
I watched it. I watched every episode twice while it was airing, but I haven't watched it.
Doesn't count.
Okay. I had to podcast it, though, and that was the most miserable I've ever been podcasting a season of Survivor.
Sure. Go watch 41 again when you're a little bit more, you've adapted to the new era of it all, and like it's not so jarring. It's a little bit more palatable when you've experienced 8 new era seasons. You throw on 41, I think you'd be surprised that it's not as bad as you remember. And there are bad game ruining twists, sure, but on purely entertainment of a season, it blows this season out of the water. It really is not close.
I will rewatch in about 20 months. About 20 months, I will give season 41 a rewatch when we get there for Every Season Matters, because there's no way I'm putting myself through 41 now and then going back and putting myself through it again. So yeah, but I mean, look, you could be right. I just know that was the season where we got like halfway through and Alexa and I looked at each other and we're like, why are we wasting our time? Like, what are we doing? This is not worth it. And I haven't felt that way about this season until last week. And last week was the first time that I was really, really down on an episode because I felt like, okay, this season's over. And this was the last chance. And it's like, yep, nope, it happened again. It happened again. I don't know what you're watching, but I hear it back. So like
I'm not watching anything.
Oh, really? I heard there was something weird that was coming through. I don't know what that was. That was awkward. But so I just feel like at this point, yeah, like I'm hitting that level of misery that I had with season 41. But season 41, I was pretty much miserable from final 15 on, 14 after JD went home, really, for the rest of it. Like the genie boot on, like, could have cared less. And I mean, especially with the hourglass twist, like that season will forever be at least bottom 2 or 3 for me, just because it's the only season where somebody literally never lost immunity and was voted out of the game. And that's the stupidest thing ever. Defeats the purpose. Jeff lied to the players. That's like stupid. Cool Shot 77 says Eva is guaranteed Final Four fire making. This has been a theory that's been circling for a very long time. What do you think?
Is it a theory? Or is it because, well, her safety without power is gone, right?
People think it expired tonight. They're probably right.
I think it's 7 was the last time. So now she just has an idol. So she could get voted out at 6 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's guaranteed. I mean, she's got to make it through. If she wins one challenge or survives one vote, then yes, she's guaranteed at least fire. I mean, she could win the final immunity challenge. She could get brought to final 3.
Do you think Eva has any winner capability at this point?
Maybe. I don't know. I got no clue.
She does.
I don't think she does. But I think that maybe is a problem with this season too. Like, I don't know who to root for, because like I don't want to root for the people that are on the top. Like, that's not fun to root for, and they're not going out of their way to making us like these people. Like even today with the Mary and the coconut, when Mary throws that line, like, yeah, you guys are going to go and reward. I'm not going to get picked for reward, so I'm going to eat the coconut. I don't think that was the show painting Mary in a negative light. I think that was, and then Eva has a confessional about like, yeah, we're all hungry. And it's like, but like, we know Eva's been on like every single reward. And then she got chosen again for a reward. And I'm not out here like feeling bad about that. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed. I know the show wants us to somehow upend this power, like in some way, because it's been teased, and that's what you want as a Survivor fan naturally. But in doing that, it's almost painting the people that are in this power, like you almost have grown this animosity towards them. Like, oh my God, Joe and Eva, like, can we please flip on them? Like, they're so confident and they haven't really made any moves. They're just sitting pretty. They're preaching this loyalty and honesty thing, and they might be loyal and honest, and they might be great people. I'm sure they are great people, but like, I don't want, like, you're not rooting for them to win. It doesn't feel like the show wants you to.
Yeah, I agree. So, and I think, Will, I think this is a good question here. If the moment between Joe and Eva at the challenge never happened, if you just remove that, what else between the two of them has happened that would make us say, oh my God, I absolutely love this duo. This is the duo that I want to win the whole thing. Like, what else has happened?
But like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't feel like anything. And I think
like nothing.
That's what the problem is. I think I'm agreeing with you. Like, I think that's what the problem is. They're hanging their hat on that one moment as that's going to carry you through. But since that episode, There has not been anything between Joe and Eva. And maybe I'm being cynical because that's not enough to carry me through. But that was like episode 4. It's been 7 episodes where Joe and Eva haven't done anything that's all that positive. That makes me say, oh, hell yeah, this is like, I'm back on rooting for them. As people, sure. But like in terms of what are they doing in the game, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Right. And that's because nothing in the game has really happened. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm like confused too. Because Shahin's one thing, I guess. Well, no, Shahin's doesn't really matter. Like at some point, and I know Kyle has told us that he's struggling emotionally with this, and like he might rather decrease his chance at winning $1 million. Like he'd do that before he turns his back on Joe and betrays him. Like it's more important to him to keep his word than to increase his chance at $1 million, and that's fine. But you have other players out here. Like you have Camilla. Like shouldn't Camilla be like a little more aggressive towards Kyle? I don't mean aggressive in like a mean way, but like Kyle, wake up, buddy. Like now or never. Let's go. Like Camilla seems to be like, oh, I hear you. It's emotional, sure. But she can go, what about me? What about us? And that's again the worst part. We keep getting teased because Kyle had a confessional saying, I had clarity. He had clarity, Phil. And what was that clarity? That clarity was that Camilla is his real number one. And yes, he gave his word to Joe, but Camilla and him have been on the same tribe since day one. They are each other's number ones. Joe has Eva. Like, let's go. And that was to me like this, okay, we're cooking here. Something's gonna happen. We're moving along the right track, and then it still falls flat. So that's confusing to me. Both from Camilla not pushing Kyle a bit harder, and Kyle not pulling the trigger. And then Shahin, shouldn't he realize, even if he thinks he's playing a better game, shouldn't he realize that, like, what have I done? Like, what does Shahin think he has done yet? And you could say this for Joe, and you could say this for Eva as well. What have you done? What are you going to go and tell the jury? Like, really, what? You're going to say you formed a power alliance of strong players who were physical threats and you were honest and loyal? How are you going to differentiate yourself from any of those other people in your alliance? I don't know. Maybe on challenges, and that's why Joe's dominant, and that's why Joe's going to win this thing, and that's why he's the biggest threat. They all played the exact same game, but he won 3 immunities. Is that really going to be the final tribal council argument? I hope not. But is that what they're all like? Yeah. Is that what Shahin, like, what does Shahin think he has over on Joe? Like, I don't know what that is.
I don't either. I will say this, though, because people were mocking it at the beginning and they were talking about with David standing. What does that mean? The only thing I'm going to take from that is David's not going to vote for Joe to win. That's what I take from that. I take it David's pissed and David's like, screw you, Joe. And he can't say anything on the jury. So his way of saying, I respect Mary and I'm pissed that you just sent her out is to stand up. I don't think that he votes for Joe. So maybe that's how Shahin's thinking is the jury's not going to actually want to vote for Joe because they're going to be like, he played this whole honesty, integrity thing, but there's nothing there. I think it's a miss on Shahin's point, but maybe that's what he's thinking. That's the only possible explanation there, because what I struggle to see is if I'm looking at the 6 people who are left, I do think Mitch is at the bottom, and I don't think there's really any question about that because he's never been a part of the alliance. But after that, I think Shahin and Eva are 4 and 5 interchangeable, in my opinion. I don't think either one of them, like, I don't know if Shahin can win the game unless he sits next to Eva and Mitch. I don't think he beats Camilla. I don't think he beats Kyle. I don't think he beats Joe. And I don't think he beats I'm out. I don't think he beats them.
But the thing is, like, I have no read on who's going to beat who because none of them have done anything. They're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like, what has Camilla done that Shahin hasn't done? The Thomas boot? That's it? Like, post-merge, have they voted differently?
Let me look. You're asking if Shahin and Camilla have voted differently post-merge.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Nope. Well, yeah. When Camilla voted Mary. Camilla voted Mary and Shahin voted Star. That's the only time. I mean.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a vote split. Yeah. I mean, like, have they ever not
Camilla
been on the same
Charity
page?
And Shahin voted Seg.
But they've been on the same page.
Yes. They've both known what's going on. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We have another Oh, yeah. So does this live up to the hype then? Here's Patrick Stahl. The name of this episode is Coconut Etiquette, a callback to the best episode maybe in the franchise history,
Banana Etiquette, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this live up to that?
This episode?
Yeah.
What was Banana Etiquette again? I knew it was a reference to Banana
The
Etiquette.
double boot episode of Heroes vs. Villains in the pre-merge.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a shame they went with a Heroes vs. Villains reference in such a lame episode. Kind of not cool. They shouldn't have done that.
Especially when you're talking arguably the best episode of Heroes vs. Villains. Like in Heroes vs. Villains is loaded, but that episode is so incredible. And
so like maybe one of the best episodes of the best seasons of the show. And we're going to reference that in perhaps one of the worst episodes of the worst seasons of the show.
If I'm going to give this to somebody, if you're listening to me and you're going to be a blogger or something about Survivor, I'm giving you this for free. Just make your headline from Coconut Etiquette to Banana Etiquette. Every episode of Survivor ranked. Done. It's written for you. It's already there. That's free of charge. Just take it and run. Because now you have to say this is the worst episode and Banana Etiquette's the best, because now you can just be like, those are the bookends and everything else falls in between.
Yeah. And what do you think? Season 48 or All-Stars?
Dude, still 48. No questions.
Get out of here, dude. Get out of here. I do not understand the All-Stars hate so much. My God.
Let me see if I dread watching 48 when it comes back around.
Oh, I dread watching it next week.
Jesus. Well, just be happy. You're not doing predictions with me. I'm doing predictions. I'm doing digging deeper tomorrow. Like, we got to dig deeper into this. And I got
What are you going to dig deeper on?
Not only do I have to dig deeper, I have to podcast with Blake about an episode that if you and I didn't like it, what is Blake doing right now? Blake hates everything. What is that podcast going to be like?
Welcome to the pod, Tegwith. What a time.
Yeah, welcome. I know she just texted me. I was like, wow, it's so amazing. Like I see the reception, how it's been, and like excited to podcast this weekend. And it's like, well, you haven't listened to our recap yet. Here you are. Luke Green with we're getting super chats at the ass though. So this is great. On a different season, Joe is maybe a villain picking off all the players, but because of the Eva and Joe moment, the editors feel they can't do that. Do you think that, Will? Is there a little bit of a villainous edge to Joe? We did see him get a little angry tonight when people weren't receptive to him saying, well, maybe I should throw a vote at somebody else so I don't go home.
Yeah, I can buy that. I can get behind that theory. I also think even without Eva's presence there, the show has steered away from true villains and true heroes, and they try to show people more as like flawed characters, like especially in the new era. It's like, here are my good parts, here are my bad parts, and like this is all of me. And so the show has not decided to lean into someone really as a like there are very few villains in the new era, and it's when people outwardly decide to be a villain themselves. I think even when you take someone like Jesse, I always find this interesting when people ask, like, is he a villain or is he a hero? And I would just say, like, neither. Yeah, like neither. He's one of the main characters of the season and he has villainous gameplay, but the show never really paints him in a negative light. That's someone you're rooting against. And a lot of the people on that season were rooting for Jesse to win. And that's what you would call a protagonist or a hero. So it's kind of like a blend or a mix. We don't get this like paint them black or white. Mm-hmm. And maybe if Joe were on an earlier season, then yeah, he could. I mean, you could maybe see like a Kyle Jason vibe from Joe, and maybe not that far because that's like fully villain. And Kyle Jason was bringing a lot of that himself. But I think you could see like some of the, Italian mob boss vibe from Joe that this era of Survivor chooses not to lean into. And I don't know if it's fully on Eva being here, but that certainly could be a contribution to why we've gotten pretty much a one-note Joe this post-merge and maybe the whole season as like just a stand-up guy, honest. Like we get this whole story about like the reason he decides that like why it feels so good to play this way by sticking to alliance and not flipping and getting everyone to the Final Four. And like, that's so important to him, is for his kids. And that if he can do it, he can show his kids that that's possible, and that that's a great way to live, and that to play as a team, rely on each other. He said that at Tribal Council tonight, like, everyone who's won this game, every person, every survivor winner of this franchise has relied on someone else, other people in some fashion to get to the end of this game. And there is some beauty to that. And there's some truth to that. So yeah, but it's lame. It's
Yeah.
just it's lame, man. It's not fun to watch, but yeah,
it's tough. Since you're a challenge guy, for anybody who's confused about how this challenge went down, the immunity challenge, just real quick, because a lot of people, I saw some reaction on the internet that was like, well, wait, how did he lose this? The backside was all white and the front side was all black, correct? And that's established before the challenge begins, that you have to match the colors as well as spell it right.
yes. So a couple things. When Jeff pointed it out, I thought he had that like logo flipped the wrong way. And
Yeah,
I was going to be like, that is total BS.
Yeah.
Like, that is never part of it. And then when he said it was the wrong color, I was like, oh yeah, because one side if you're dealing with a word puzzle, with a picture puzzle, it's fine, especially if you print something double-sided, cut up into pieces, you can stack it and it will be fine. It will read front and backwards both ways, all good. If you're doing a word puzzle and the word has, 3 E's in it, or any 2 of any letter, basically, if you're then not matching them, if you're not putting them correctly in order, you can spell it correctly one way. It can say unforgettable while facing you, but then you look at it from the other side, it's spelled wrong, because you can switch out the multiple letters. You can switch out those 2 E's or those 2 T's. Mm-hmm. And that's why they paint one side, and you can still get it wrong. But with every puzzle, they paint one side like either a different shade, or they have like, you'll even see with the block puzzles, there's a side that they're supposed to face. They go together. And so, yeah, it looked like one side was black, one side was white, and he did not have that side fully black or white, which is a bummer. But there was no real controversy there. That's like very by the book. I mean, the Wendell Laurel one, much more, you could argue, controversial than this one. Look at Ghost Island getting all the love tonight.
I know. No, and I wanted to bring that up because I thought the same thing as you. I was like, are they really trying to say the I is backwards? And then it was like, oh no, it's supposed to be all white on one, all black on the other. So that's fine. People are asking for the Philly and Willie, but before we do that, I just want to do this real quick. Because I got flagged because I haven't updated this in a while. So I just want to rattle through some prop bets real quick. Everybody who's left in the game has cried, including Mary, who just went home. So that is Bianca, Eva, Joe, Camilla, Kyle, Mary, Mitch, and Shaheen have all cried. So a bunch of them cried tonight. So I just want to make sure that's all out there. Mary got 10 or more votes. Camilla won individual immunity. Camilla had the name of the episode, which was Coconut Etiquette, which I do appreciate the callback. It's just, it's been a rough season. Eva and Camilla both had 10 or more confessionals tonight. Eva had 13. Camilla had 11. Kyle had 8. Shaheen had 7. Mary had 6. Joe had 5. Mitch had 3. So Joe, even though he is like all over the place and it feels like, oh, is he going to win? Blah, blah, blah. This is why I still don't see him as the winner. 5 confessionals in an episode where it seemed like he might actually legitimately go home. I still feel like this is Kyle or Camilla's game.
Joe going home.
Yeah, I know. In terms of alcohol at the reward, it looks like they're all drinking soda and orange juice and stuff at this point. They're not explicitly saying it's alcohol.
Soda was there?
So this is going to be pretty much
46
for everybody. Unfortunately, we're going to have to change that for next year's prop bet. And we're going to need to remember to do that. And a bunch of people. So with 40 confessionals in a season, I know that Camilla hit it tonight. Kyle had already hit it. So that's done. And then I think Mitch hit it tonight. So the only one who hasn't hit 40 confessionals yet, who's still in the game, is Joe. As funny as that is. So Philly and Willie of the episode. Here's my Philly of the episode. 1000%, no questions asked. Joe doesn't win immunity, doesn't get more than 1 vote when everybody's talking about him being the biggest threat in the game. Good for him. He's number 1. That's it. That's the Philly. There's no questions. It can't be anybody else because nobody else realized they should vote him out. Will, though, What is the Willie? It doesn't even have to be a who at this point. Like, are we the Willie for going an hour and 4 minutes about this?
No, I said this last week too. I don't think we can start deviating from format when we just established the award. I think we have to at least go to the end of this, do a full season of Billy and Willie before we start getting crazy with it. I have like 2 candidates. I don't know who to go for. It's either Shaheen for that dumb quote. And again, he might be right. Like if he goes to final 3 with Joe and Eva and he beats them, like, cool. I still don't like it because you haven't done anything to differentiate your game. Mm-hmm. Joe's won more immunities than you. So like you should be actively trying to get rid of Joe or supersede him in some way. Do something that makes your game better than his, because as of now, you haven't done that. So to think that is not smart. And that's Willie material. The other one, I mean, Kyle, right? I mean, like, come on, man.
He played with his heart, not his mind, in my opinion, this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those two. I think it seemed like Mitch was down. Camilla was definitely down, although you could argue that give it to Camilla because she couldn't convince Kyle to flip. Like,
at least she had immunity or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but like, I fully think that's like a part of this has to go to Camilla for trying, and maybe she tried harder than it looked and we didn't see it, so that could potentially be unfair to award her the Willie. But let's go with Kyle because ultimately it was in his hands. If he wanted to make the move, he could have had Mary, Mitch, Camilla, Kyle, and he chose not to, which made it for another bad episode. Back-to-back bad episodes because of Kyle. So, Kyle, you get the Willie. And it doesn't mean you're playing a bad game. Kyle could end up winning. It just means I think I'm not entertained.
Yeah. And I think right now, if you're looking at Kyle's game, if you're looking at this from a bad perspective, he seems scared to take out Joe because of the repercussions it would have. But what are the repercussions it's going to have? You're going to have a majority alliance. If you go to the final, you're going to win. Camilla wants to go to the end with you. Mitch and Mary don't have another choice. It's not like Mitch and Mary are then going to go work with Eva and Shaheen. Like, that's not going to happen. They know they don't beat Eva and Shaheen. They know Eva has all these advantages, or at least now has an idol. So to me, I agree. I think it has to be Kyle. And we could, in 2 weeks, we could be sitting here at this exact time saying the winner of Survivor 48 is Kyle. Where would you rank him? You know, like we could be doing that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but totally possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels less likely now, though, right? Now that he's had 2 chances to like really make a move, separate himself from this alliance, like do something on his own. It does feel like who is Kyle beating?
I think he beats Joe. I know I just argued against that. I think he beats Joe. I do.
I mean, again, there's these people are all playing the same games. So really hard to tell you who's winning. I mean, again, it comes down to Joe winning challenges. Other than that, what has one person done and not the other? Mm-hmm. I mean, if anything, it's like Kyle and Camilla have that move over Joe and Shaheen pre-merged. Like that, they can hold that over their head and be like, I actually have one strategic move on you. And maybe we get this reveal that, hey, Kyle and Camilla were working together the whole time and no one knew. We were number ones. And that's like wows the jury. And that's a really compelling story.
And that would differentiate his game from Kyle or from Joe and Shaheen if Camilla's not sitting at Final Tribal. But Camilla can't be sitting at Final Tribal because then wouldn't he just split votes with Camilla?
Well, whether they're there together or not, they can still reveal that that's what's going on.
True.
Like that's still cool. Like we really rarely see, and we dream of it too. Like the moment where you reveal something and you're like, boom, gotcha. This is how it really went down.
Yeah.
And like we had that with Marianne a little bit in 42, but it's something you just don't often see. So if they can get down and really have a reveal, maybe that is something that can get them the win.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, if you're talking about who does Kyle beat, I think if Camilla's on the jury, he gets Camilla's vote. He's going to get David's vote if he's sitting, no matter who he's sitting next to, because David's not going to vote for Joe. I think there's a good chance he could get Chrissy's vote. You know, I think that Kyle probably ends up with 5 votes in way more scenarios, even if he doesn't make a move for the rest of the game, than almost anybody else left in the game.
Mhm.
So that's it, man. That's what we got. Tomorrow, I'm digging deeper with Blake, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're doing a Survivor 50 contest. So tune into that at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Whoa.
I know Tegwith is going to be there. That's going to be a big intro to the channel. Not sure if it's just going to be me and Tegwith. We haven't figured out exactly who's going to be there, but it is going to be a contest. So join, and it is a time-limited contest. So you will have only a couple days to enter this contest, and then that's it. So jump in on Sunday. Make sure you listen at 1, and then at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, I'm live with Sam from season 47, and we are going to be predicting that Joe is the red herring again for episode 12 of Survivor 48.
There you go.
That's all I have. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're like, well, you guys bitch and complain. If you made it this far into the video, think about all the suffering Will and I have endured to give you this hour and 10-minute podcast. Suffering, right? And the Celtics lost. That sucks. I didn't even really know that until Will texted me. My life sucks.
And Steph Curry's hurt.
And Steph Curry's hurt. We are going
We're dying
through it right now. We are going through it.
I'm so bummed, especially because now it looks like the Celtics are going to get knocked out by the Knicks. Like this could have been if Steph was healthy, this really could have been a year to sneak.
Yeah.
Like everyone's gettable right now, except the Thunder have 85 points in the first half.
Yeah.
So that's kind of scary.
If you want to think about this, 84 in the first half?
They have 85 points, and there's 14 seconds left in the second quarter.
Oh my God. Well, Patrick Stahl says, your thumbs up is me not giving a thumbs down. Everybody give a thumbs up just to not give us a thumbs down. That's what we're looking for. Thank you all so much, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed. Everything is on Sunday this week, except for Digging Deeper, which is tomorrow. I can't wait for you guys to hear the Survivor 50 thing we have in store. And honestly, man, Will, I know this past week, Will and I, we planned out our off season. I have never been more pumped for an off season. We are going to bring it because it can't possibly be worse than what we're doing right now. So, hey, here we go. Can't wait. All right, everybody. See you next time.
See ya.